finally we're back in the
Yeah, we're
studio.
back. Yeah, we're still going strong.
Yeah, going strong, and a lot of energy here. So we're starting with our keynotes. We're thrilled, as always, to have Mike Milinkovic, our executive director. I am absolutely certain he needs no introduction whatsoever. So my thing is that we in the Jakarta EE working group are extremely proud of the progress we're making with Jakarta EE and about the third annual JakartaOne Livestream. But I am totally curious to see how things look from Mike's perspective. So Mike, please share your slides if you have any, and let us know how we do.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me just share my screen here. That should be coming up now.
Almost, but not quite.
There
you go.
There we go. All right. So yeah, thanks very much for the introduction. And yeah, this talk really is, from my perspective, a bit of a celebration of all that's been accomplished by the Jakarta EE community over the last couple of years. It's been a really interesting journey, and like I said, it really is a cause for celebration. So let's just think about all the things that have been accomplished to date in Jakarta EE. So if you go way back to 2018, I guess, when we first started really getting going, there's been a steady cadence of releases and milestones along the way. And the very first one was moving over Eclipse Glassfish 5.0 and getting that certified as Java EE 8. That was sort of step one in the migration. Then in the next step was getting Eclipse Glassfish 5.1 actually building on our infrastructure and fully certified as Java EE 8. Sorry, the first step was actually that was the original ground thing, what we had at JCP. Then with Jakarta EE 8 was the big change where we started using the Jakarta EE specification process. And so to get to that point, the community had to define an entirely new specification process and implement that. But the other big milestone in getting Jakarta EE 8, and I think this is really important to stress, was the open sourcing of the TCKs. And making all of those materials for the first time freely available in open source. And so the real milestone with Jakarta EE 8 was getting it out under the Jakarta name, rebranding everything, getting the TCKs out in open source, and actually exercising the entire new process from beginning to end. Then Jakarta EE 9, which is almost exactly a year ago, was the big bang. And that was releasing under the new Jakarta namespace and removing a number of deprecated specs. And of course, there was a new release of Glassfish that was there to go along with this with the new namespace. But that was an enormous accomplishment, of course. A lot of work went into both at the Jakarta EE community side and all the work that happened at the Eclipse Foundation to make that possible. But it's been really, really fantastic to see how the enterprise Java ecosystem has really embraced this name change. All right, and if you look at the success, changing the namespace from Java X to Jakarta was at one level a real gamble by the community that everybody would follow because when you have that kind of discontinuity in an ecosystem, sometimes it doesn't work out. But if you look at the plans from the ecosystem, so Eclipse Jetty, Apache Tomcat, Apache Tommy, now the Spring community is coming on board. What we're really seeing is the entire ecosystem that had built up around enterprise Java has really embraced this and is moving forward. Then earlier this year, in 2021, we shipped Jakarta EE 9.1, and really the two noticeable things there was one was moving to Java SE 11 as the base platform. But also that we had now, this process had matured to the point where we have multiple compatible implementations that were available on the release date. So we were really able to see the endorsement again from the ecosystem on the work that's happening here, and making those compatible implementations available on the very first day that it shipped. Up to that point, Glassfish had been the main implementation that had been demonstrated that there was a compatible implementation. With EE 9.1, we had quite a few. Looking forward, and we'll get back to this towards the end of the talk, for 2022, the most exciting thing really that's going to happen is the release of Jakarta EE 10. And that's really what this whole process has all been about, because that's where we start to get to new innovation in the enterprise Java space, with a whole, and we'll talk about this some more, but with a whole bunch of new versions of specifications and driving forward some changes, even new profile in this technology. In terms of 2021, the major accomplishments just in this calendar year, we've already talked about EE 9.1, and the list of compatible implementations that shipped with it included Open Liberty, Eclipse Glassfish, Apache Tommy, Wildfly, Managed Fish. So it really was, a great release in terms of lining up the entire ecosystem to move forward with it. And as I mentioned before, Jakarta E10, we're going to talk about that a little bit more later, but the plan is available now. And if you're not familiar with all the great things that are coming with EE10, I certainly encourage you to read those plans and make yourself aware of what's going on there and what's coming down the pipe. And also, please get engaged as we go through this. Then we should also celebrate what's been happening in the community. So in 2021, we also had a number of regional JakartaOne live streams in Russian, Turkish, Portuguese, and Spanish. Those 4 events generated over 1,200 registered attendees, 645 attended live, and lots of people watching the replays and helping us generate content in other languages for the YouTube playlists. And then finally, today, celebrating JakartaOne live stream, our main event with just over 850 now registered attendees, but a great activity in terms of support for the call for papers with 49 submissions and 5 vendor talks. So, thank you to the 27 speakers that are participating in this event. We wouldn't be here without you. And also, of course, welcome and thank you very much to all of our sponsors. So just stop for a second and remind ourselves, what is it that when we say Jakarta EE, what is it that gets delivered with each one of these releases? And so there's 3 major parts of each release. The first one, of course, is the specifications, and that's what you would expect. And those specifications are leveraging the Jakarta EE specification process. That is an open source first process. So unlike a lot of other specification processes out there, it's very open and transparent. All the artifacts are available in open source as well as the final specification and TCK licenses. And the TCK itself is available in open source and is available for anybody to certify that their product is compatible. And if you want to actually get the logo, then you can talk to us about becoming a member and getting the logo. And then finally, the compatible implementations. Just as part of our process, there has to be one compatible implementation available in open source before we will release the specs. But we're obviously very pleased with the way that things are coming along, and we're now getting multiple compatible implementations lining up on the release dates. We've also seen significant growth. So the number of member organizations in the Jakarta EE working group increased from 18 to 25 over this past year. We've grown the number of lines of source code from 65 million to 76 million. And so that's the specification documents itself. Most of that growth is going to be in implementations in the Eclipse Glassfish projects, but also growth in the lines of code and as they're refactoring the TCKs. We've also grown the number of open source projects to 54 and grown the number of Git repositories as well. So we're seeing very, very steady growth in terms of the actual project that leads to what we all know of as Jakarta EE. We look at 9.1 as being a really important release because this is the last release that's based on those roots that go back to Java EE 8. And by moving it forward under the Jakarta namespace and moving it up to Java SE 11, this gives the entire ecosystem a stable platform for innovation now that we start moving forward with EE 10. And really, Jakarta EE as a whole has always been about lowering the barriers to entry and allowing new vendors and new implementations to become fully certified, fully compatible, participants within the ecosystem. And that we're doing that by providing a foundation for innovation and providing a way to do easy migration. I mentioned earlier that we're seeing great uptake with Jakarta EE namespace, the Jakarta namespace. And that easy migration forward is largely being provided by this Jakarta EE 9.1. And that's been really beneficial because let's not forget that the entire mission that we have here is to take a 20-year-old plus multi-billion-dollar, multi-vendor ecosystem and bring this forward into a new world of cloud-native Java and innovation. And we're really seeing the success here. And so when we look at the number of compatible products, number of member companies went from 18 to 25, but the number of compatible products is now up to 23. And that's amazing. If you go back through the history of Java EE, I'm not sure if there might have been, but it would have been a very, very long time ago when there was last 23 certified Java EE 8 or Java EE compatible products. By lowering the barriers to entry, reducing the cost of being a certified licensor or licensee, I mean, this has really changed the dynamics and reinvigorated this ecosystem. And so we're very, very happy with the way that we've seen the work that we're doing be embraced by all of these vendors and doing the work to certify their products as Jakarta EE compatible. So looking forward on what's coming with Jakarta EE, I believe there's another talk by Kevin Sutter who's going to expand on the EE 10 release plan and everything that's included. So I'm certainly not going to try to steal his thunder. There's a lot of what we're doing here is about driving innovation and delivering new releases. And so we've already done the hard work of bringing forward the namespace. We've already done the hard work with EE 9 and 9.1 in terms of providing backwards compatibility. Now is the time to really embrace community-powered innovation. So just really briefly, a few things in terms of how this is actually rolling out. If you look at the EE 9 specifications, you've got the web profile and the full Jakarta EE 9 platform. Of course, I'm not going to go through every specification on there. But there was a number of optional specifications that were part of EE 9. And optional in EE 9 meant that there had to be a compatible implementation that implemented all of the optional parts in order to fully certify EE 9 and 9.1 before we could release the specifications. Moving forward now into in the web profile. Moving now into Jakarta EE 10, we're going to start to see quite a few changes. So some of the optional specifications are no longer necessary, no longer required in terms of certifying a platform. A number of the specifications have been deprecated so that they're no longer necessarily required again in order to certify a full platform. Again, reducing the barrier to entry in terms of enabling logo-bearing products in the marketplace. And so what we're really seeing here as we go through this is the ability to reduce the number of specs that are required to get to the web profile. And then one of the most exciting things that's happened in enterprise Java for at least a decade is the proposal of an entirely new profile, which is really shrinking down the EE platform to the very core in order to make it easier to build out cloud native Java services and applications on top of Jakarta EE. And one of the proposed additions to this is an entirely new spec, inspired, of course, by microprofile config, the Jakarta config profile specification that's going to help round out the capabilities of this platform. So I hope that was just a very quick tour and a bit of a celebration for all that's been accomplished by you, the community, over the past year. Obviously, we're all very excited to help this great community grow and prosper. And we really want to invite everybody on this. If you're here on this conference, then you are part of this community, and please get involved. So connect with the community. There's the Jakarta working group mailing list that's very active and lots going on there. Participate in the projects, find an area that you're interested in and can help, and jump in and be a participant. And consider having your organization or you as an individual join the Jakarta EE working group. We'd love to have you. And with that, I thank you. And I don't sure if we have any time for questions or if we had any questions, but I'm still here if there are.
I think we're kind of short on time. If there are any questions, we can certainly follow up on them a little bit later in the chat. But thank you, Mike, for your time. Thank you for your kind words, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
And while we were setting up for the next keynote, which will be the industry keynote,
yes,
we have to do some little technical magic here to join all the speakers that are waiting for us. So
yes,
why don't you go ahead and do that?
okay, I'll do my magic.